Oh boy, that's actually called disorderly conduct. Stop where you are, you're under arrest. Stop. If you start to run, I've already told you you're under arrest. If you start to run, I'm gonna chase you.
I didn't fucking do anything wrong. Are you
swing at me? If you swing at me, stop.
No, I didn't do nothing wrong. I swear to God, you guys are. I'm not under arrest.
You're under arrest.
For what? For what?
Relax.
No.
Let go of me.
Hey.
No.
Hey, listen.
You let go. I didn't do anything wrong. You guys are fucking out of pocket right now. I swear to God. For what? I didn't fucking do anything wrong.
Stop.
Let go. You're gonna get
Are you
put on the
serious?
ground.
For what? What did I do? Tell me what the fuck I did. Tell me what the fuck I did.
It's called
Tell me what the fuck
disorderly
I did.
conduct
For what?
for throwing their property on the ground.
Are you fucking serious?
Absolutely.
Because you guys are so out of pocket. I'm sitting here trying to pay with my money. I have money, cash money, okay?
So I want to be clear. It's the two down there at the end with the cart and the kind of red hair and that guy.
Yep.
And they previously shoplifted before?
Yeah, they've come in here. I've seen them in here a couple times.
I'm going to give them the you don't want their business speech.
Thank you.
Hi guys, how we doing? Hey, need you guys to leave the store without taking anything. Okay? You guys are identified as previous shoplifters. Yeah, store security said, they called us here. They said you walked in with another guy just now and they literally pointed you out, both of you. Yeah, both of you. You guys are trespassing from the store for life and you need to leave.
You know what gives it away, bro? What? Those stolen jeans.
The jeans with the stolen tags on them, and then, so you guys need to leave the store, okay? If you don't leave now, you're gonna get arrested for trespass. You guys understand you can't come back? Cool, they don't want your business, they don't want your money. The store, security.
Security.
It's really simple.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. They don't want your business. You gotta take those gloves off. You gotta leave. I'm not a weirdo, I'm just doing my job. You gotta leave.
You are a weirdo.
Okay, well, I'm sure if I took your dirty fingerprints outside and got your fingerprints, you'd have a long history of...
Excuse me?
You have dirty
You want to do
hands.
it? Let's go check it out. Check it out, come on. You want, no, seriously, I will
Stop, don't grab the
No,
card.
I
Don't
want
grab the
you,
card, let
I
go.
will grab my purse.
Yes, let go, you can take the purse. Go ahead, you gotta leave the
I want you
store.
to take my fingerprint, thank you. Take my fingerprint. Seriously,
Okay.
I prove you wrong. Okay, thanks.
We would have to go all the way out to my car out front with my fingerprints scanned. Cool?
Yeah.
That's really, really rude.
I don't care. You're really, really rude. Are you going to tell me I have a long...
Go ahead. It would be a really fun end to my day. I just don't think you should be slinging around terms like that because it's rude.
Why would you take my
You gotta leave the store. I'm gonna arrest you for trespassing.
You said I was gonna, and you're so
Keep going, keep going. You gotta clear the store and clear the entire parking lot.
Kent, Washington, May 6, 2023. Store security identifies Kayla and a companion as previous shoplifters. Under Terry v. Ohio, that identification gives officers reasonable suspicion to investigate a trespass. Officers deliver a trespass warning under RCW 9A.52.080, Washington's second-degree criminal trespass statute, which makes it a misdemeanor to knowingly remain on property after being told to leave. Kayla argues the warning does not apply to her. The officer labels the bucket-throwing disorderly conduct under RCW 9A.84.030, which lists abusive language, disrupted assemblies, or blocked traffic. This specific label is legally debatable, though the arrest itself is not unreasonable. Decision map. Kayla chose to keep arguing rather than leave after the first warning, extending the encounter, leaving immediately, while reserving the right to dispute the claim later, likely ends this without any arrest at all. Decision map. The officer's on-scene disorderly conduct label is debatable under RCW 9A.84.030's text, citing the act instead as continued trespass or as property damage would have produced a cleaner statutory record from the outset.
Oh boy, that's actually called disorderly conduct. Stop where you are, you're under arrest. Stop. If you start to run, I've already told you you're under arrest. If you start to run, I'm gonna chase you.
I didn't fucking do anything wrong. Are you
Swing at me. If you swing at me, stop.
No, I didn't do nothing wrong. I swear to God, you guys are. I'm not under arrest.
You're under arrest.
For what? For what?
Relax.
Disorderly
No,
conduct.
no.
Let go of me.
Hey.
No.
Hey, listen.
You
I
let
gave
go.
you
I didn't
plenty
do
of
anything wrong. You
opportunities.
guys are fucking out of pocket right now. I swear to God. For
Let
what?
go.
I didn't fucking do anything wrong.
Let go. You're gonna get
Are you
put on the
serious?
ground.
For what? What did I do? Tell me what the fuck I did. Tell me what the fuck I did.
It's called
Tell me what the
disorderly
fuck I did.
conduct
For what?
for throwing their property on the ground.
Are you fucking serious?
Absolutely.
Because you guys are so out of pocket. I'm sitting here trying to pay with my money. I have money, cash money, okay?
Okay. You were told to leave the store
And I did.
7-8 times.
No, but I literally
Let go of
think
your
you're talking
purse.
about me.
Let go.
Let go of the purse. It's okay.
You're not arresting me.
Yes, we are.
No, you're not. not.
Okay. Go ahead. Stop.
Stop. You guys are
Hey.
You guys are so out of pocket.
I got mine.
For why? Alex!
Can you keep an eye out for any other guys
didn't do
approaching us? She
anything
went in the store with 2 guys.
Alex, get a camera because someone videotape this shit.
We are videotaping.
Good. No, you're on fire.
Stop.
I'm not even doing it. Can you guys stop?
Hey, your arm can
You
get
need to
broken. I don't want
relax.
to break your arm.
No, clearly you do.
You're resisting.
Stop.
Roll over on your stomach.
No. For what?
Did you say, yeah, you know? Okay, now
No,
you're under
I'm
arrest for another charge
No,
for
I'm
resisting
saying-
arrest.
Why are you guys doing this? I didn't do anything wrong.
Do you want to get tased? That's the
Dude,
next
I
step.
didn't do anything
That's the
wrong.
next step.
I swear to God, you guys are fucking.
Stop.
You have guys have fucking issues. Look, you're such a fucking fat.
Hey, let go of my hand.
I'm not touching your fucking
You did. You just squeezed my hand again.
No, I didn't. Why am I?
Hey, stop.
You guys are so violent. I don't
Stop.
understand what the fuck is wrong with you guys. What the fuck? Now you're telling me to stand up and then fucking put me down. You're
Nobody told you to stand up. We said
you.
stop.
Stop.
you.
Why are you freaking out?
Because I'm being arrested for what?
We told you like 30 times.
I didn't do anything. Can you stop? Get the fuck off of me.
Stop thrashing.
Get the fuck off of my fucking leg, you fucking piece of shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? I fucking hate you.
You're not the first, you're not the last.
You guys please tell me stop.
Okay, so you're under arrest.
For what? Why did you do anything wrong? Can you tell me? Get the fuck off me. Seriously, it's fucking hurting my fucking leg.
No, you just started kicking at my
I did not
officer.
try to kick him.
I saw it.
God
Do
damn.
not stand up.
Kick at us.
I never will kick at you. I literally have cash money. I was gonna buy some shit.
So you know
I
we're
swear to
audio
God.
and video recording?
Good for you.
Just letting you know.
You want to see my money in my fucking purse?
Well, it's not about money if you walked out without paying for stuff.
I didn't
right?
walk out without paying my website. They told me to get at the store.
That's what they told us.
No, what?
No, that's different.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This is a different thing?
Yeah, they
thank
identified them as previous
you.
shoplifters.
No, not
We
me.
went and
All my
trespassed
kids'
her.
life, not me. All my
We told her to
kids'
leave a
life.
bunch of
I've never
times.
even been to the store with him.
She finally left. As she left, she grabbed a stack of
I
buckets and
literally
tossed them
didn't think he was
backwards at
talking to
me.
I swear to God, I didn't think he was talking to me.
You didn't think who was talking to you?
You guys, I thought
When?
like
When we were in the store? Yeah, I was talking to you.
Yeah.
We said many
That's
times.
why I know.
We'll
Why
go back.
But you said you guys.
We'll go back to the footage. Yeah, both of you. You guys are trespassing from the store for life, and you need to leave.
Okay, what are you doing?
Kayla, how do you...
You're under arrest. We can search your
How are you
bag.
gonna go through my shit?
It's called incident to arrest.
Kayla,
No, do not stand up. We're ready for you to stand up. I'll tell you.
are you injured at all?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
wrong?
What hurt?
My fucking, when you knee on my fucking back, my fucking chair is hella bad. It's hard to breathe.
So we're also going to have the sergeant come up here and talk to you.
That's
because of the
fine.
use
That's
of
perfectly
force.
fine.
You want to stand up? I can sit you down on the bumper now.
Name for
How is this legal at all?
Have a seat. Actually, you know what? Do you have anything in your pockets? Anything on you that's going to hurt me, poke me, stick me, needles,
No,
knives, explosives,
no.
guns, anything like that?
No.
Let's walk over here to this back of the car.
So f***ed up. I didn't do anything wrong. Seriously. You guys are so f***ed up.
Stop reaching
I'm
for
trying to push my pocket
You
back
don't have to
in.
push your pocket back in. It's the lowest of the priorities right now.
I still understand how this is even legal. How is this even legal?
New drug laws in Kent.
Not even kidding. I just put this
New
code.
drug laws just signed into effect
I put, you
yesterday.
can, I can
As the confrontation continues, Kayla, by her own later account, unaware the officer was speaking to her, knocks a stack of store buckets to the ground in frustration. This single act becomes the pivotal turning point of the entire encounter. Officers announce the arrest. Kayla pulls away and argues, and officers describe active resistance during the handcuffing attempt. This leads to a takedown, with an officer applying a knee-to-back control hold to gain compliance. Under Graham versus Connor, the use of force standard weighs the severity of the offense, any immediate threat, and active resistance. The underlying offense is low level, but the audio documents genuine resistance during the arrest attempt. Kayla reports pain and difficulty breathing after being taken to the ground. Officers acknowledge the complaint, call for a sergeant, and arrange a medical check, standard department practice following any use of force injury claim. A search incident to arrest follows a pat-down for weapons, then a search of pockets and bag. Under Chimmel versus California, officers may search a lawfully arrested person and their immediate reach for weapons and evidence. Behavioral read public accusation is embarrassing, and embarrassment under acute stress narrows attention. That narrowed focus can make a small, symbolic act of anger like knocking over buckets feel proportionate, even when it is not. Behavioral read. Once officers announce an arrest, the body's stress response can drive pulling away or tensing. Officers are trained to read that instinctive reaction as resistance, regardless of the person's actual intent. Decision map: Kayla resisted during handcuffing, adding an independent resisting arrest charge and prompting a takedown. Going limp while verbally objecting preserves every legal argument without adding a charge or increasing force used.
I literally just put this coat on, I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. I swear to God, oh my kid's life. why am I getting arrested right now?
You're under arrest. You're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Wrong.
And you're under arrest for resisting arrest.
Because I didn't do anything wrong. I understand there's no reason I should be arrested right now. Literally no fucking reason I should be arrested right now. This is so out of pocket. Seriously, there's nothing. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm a kid's life. I swear I'm not even kidding. I don't do blues at all. I swear to God. I know what they are, but I don't do them. I swear to God, my kid's life.
You know the street name for him.
Yes, I do. I know. Yeah, I know what they are. I live in the fucking ghetto. Hello.
See my hand?
How would you do that?
I have to sweep the underside of your bra. Make sure you don't have anything in there. Okay, widen your stance for me. See my hand? Step in there.
No fucking reason I should be arrested right now. There's no fucking reason. I don't understand why I'm being arrested.
Put your foot in. We already explained it to you when we were trying to talk to you.
I didn't do anything wrong at all. This is so fucking wrong.
What type of warrants does she have?
Theft stuff, DWLS stuff.
Theft stuff. I'm blown away.
I'm not taking her anywhere without my
Yeah.
So.
Okay, where is your body cam? Did you just rip?
Yeah.
Girl, I am downwind and that hit hard. Wow, that's hot.
Dick came hot. I will cite and release my guy, even though he's kind of being a dickhead. I'll grab her and transport her down, but we need 16 to come see her.
True. And fire's coming too.
And fire's
complaining of back pain, correct? Let me look at her warrants real quick.
Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand each of the rights I've explained to you? Do you need me to read the rights again? No? Okay. Do you understand the rights I've explained to you? No answer? Okay. What's that?
I said, yeah.
You do? Okay. Having your rights in mind, do you want to talk to me now?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, one question. Why do you really think I deserve to be taken to jail? I've been to jail one time in my fucking life.
Okay, your warrants would say otherwise.
My warrants? You're lying. I don't know freaking warrants.
Unless you gave us a bad name. If you give us
I
a fake name.
What warrant? I swear to God, my kid's
Did you
life.
give us a fake name?
No, Alice.
You have warrants for theft.
No, I don't. For what? What are you talking about? I went to court and I want it deferred.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do.
I went to jail one time.
I am going to go to my car. I'm going to get my fingerprint scanner.
Please.
If you ended up giving us a false name.
No, it's my name.
Okay. If you gave us a false name, then you're going to get extra charges for.
Okay, that's my real name. Okay. And I don't have no warrants. How am I going to went to court?
You do have warrants. That's what we just pulled up on our computer.
How? When I paid $266.
Something from Federal A and something from Auburn.
Federal A? Well, can you tell me, because I have no knowledge of this at all.
We'll go through that in just a minute, okay?
As she's walking out, she throws those behind her. So like, all right, well, we're gonna take you into custody on that now.
Disorderly?
Yeah.
I said like 3 times after that. Like, that's disorderly conduct. You're under arrest. Stop moving. Don't run. Stop moving. Don't run. And I was like, hey, if you start running, it's going to be more. And then as soon as we put hands on her, she super hard resisting. And then at one point, we go to put her on the ground, and she tucks her head and does a full flip. Hey. Kicked me in the back of the shoulder. I'm not. I don't know if that was just a front flip thing or not.
Okay. Are you injured?
No, I'm fine. She had a small thing of blues on her as well. And she said, they're not mine. Those weren't mine.
The KCC that they signed, didn't he say that they were going to come and give us the legal update for it? Because
Okay, well, I'll just do disorderly
and
obstructing.
A records check turns up an outstanding warrant tied to an earlier deferred sentence. Unrelated to today's arrest, but sufficient by itself to justify continued custody. Kayla disputes having any warrants at all. After Miranda rights are read, Kayla voluntarily explains her side. She never realized the first warning was aimed at her, and she now regrets throwing the buckets. Some rapport is restored between her and the officers. A search of Kayla's bag turns up suspected pills, a glass pipe, and several bank cards bearing names that are not hers. Officers must now decide how to handle both the suspected narcotics and the mismatched financial cards. The mismatched name cards raise a separate identity theft question under general stolen property principles in RCW 9A.56. The footage shows officers choosing not to pursue that avenue, destroying the cards instead of booking them into evidence. One legal wrinkle involves timing. In 2021, the Washington Supreme Court's Blake decision struck down the state's simple drug possession law, and an interim statute, ESB 5476, required treatment referral instead of an outright charge. Kent's City Council passed its own drug possession ordinance 4 days before this arrest, on May 2nd, but that ordinance was not scheduled to take effect until July 1st. On the arrest date, neither law allowed a direct possession charge. Decision map officers destroyed the pills pipe and mismatched cards on scene instead of booking them as evidence. Booking the cards and referring them to a detective would have preserved a possible identity theft investigation.
I think that it either will go into effect in July or they'll do it early depending on what the state does, because the state might come back and say the city can't do that. Miss, what's your first name? Kayla. Okay. Hey, real quick, my body cam's on, so we're being audio video recorded. My partner said, so you're in custody right now, okay? And I would be willing to chat with you, but because you're in custody, I got to read you your rights, and then you have to be willing to chat with me, and that's completely up to you. But if you want to talk, I have to do that. Is that something you want me to do? Okay, sounds good. All right, Kayla, you have the right to remain silent. You understand the rights that I've read to you, Kayla? Yeah. What do you want to talk to me about?
I swear to God, I was buying everything. I really didn't think they were talking to me because I've never stolen from you or anything.
Okay.
There's no reason, you know what I mean? So I really didn't think he was talking to me. I was shocked. I was like, you're talking to me? Like, there's no reason I should be kicked out here. And of course, yeah, I'm mad. And so all I did was I just knocked down the bucket, which I shouldn't have done. I should control my anger. But I just knocked down the buckets, and then they literally tackled me and like freaking put his knee in my back like hella hard, flipped me upside down, like for no reason, like seriously, all because I didn't touch nobody, I didn't hurt nobody, I didn't do anything. 2 buckets felt like 2 small, tiny little 5-gallon buckets.
Oh boy.
I shouldn't have done that, but later they should not have done that. Like I did nothing wrong. They said I have warrants. Can you tell me what I have warrants for? Because I've been in jail 1 time.
Yeah, I can look at it, but I don't know. I haven't looked at anything. I'm just here to kind of get the quick version of what happened. So I appreciate you telling me that.
And he's so disrespectful. Literally, he said because my fingers were dirty. I probably have a long record of like crimes or whatever. Like I've been to jail 1 time.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. We get called here or we get asked by employees to come tell people that they need to leave. Some of the people that you were with were previously trespassed. I don't know if you have been previously trespassed.
No.
It sounds like you're saying no. But as soon as the business tells us they want this group of people gone, it is completely their right to ask us to do that.
I totally understand. But like I said, I literally didn't think he was talking to me.
And then at the point where you do realize he's talking to you, and you get flustered, right? Because it's embarrassing. And I get that. The problem with throwing the buckets on the ground out of anger, I get it, is that it's disorderly conduct. Yeah. And at that point, they do have a legal reason to arrest you. As soon as officers tell you, hey, you're under arrest, even if you think it's bullshit, instead of arguing or resisting their attempts to put your hands behind your back to put you in handcuffs, you gotta just be compliant, and then you can argue it after the fact. If you think it's BS, that's fine, that's fair, that's your right. But if you resist when we're trying to put you in handcuffs, it makes it dangerous for you, it makes it dangerous for us, and unfortunately, that's how it played out. Unfortunately, what happens when people resist, we have to kind of begin to do more than just simply try to get your arms behind your back. So that's why they put you on the ground to handcuff you, okay? In terms of the warrants, I'll go figure out what the warrants are for, and I'd be willing to tell you what those are. I just don't know yet, okay? Okay. I'll let you know what the warrants are for, okay?
Okay.
All right. The warrant out of Auburn is for criminal trespass. Criminal trespassing.
I deferred though, but.
Deferred it?
Yeah.
Maybe missed a court date or missed something, I don't know.
They told me I literally paid, because I paid half of it, and for 40 hours community service, I just paid it off. Like
gotcha.
$156, something like that.
Okay.
And then the other half, she said, I'm not even going to make another court date, and it was done.
Okay.
So why?
For whatever reason, it's in there, and it's your name, it's your middle name, it's your birthday, right? And the name you gave me is you. There was one out of Fedway, but I don't think it was you. It was a different middle name, unless you gave the officers in Fedway a different name, and I don't need to confirm that right now, because the Auburn one's fine, and we have disorderly conduct from today, right? So, but here's the thing. When you go to Auburn next, just check in at the court and be like, hey, I got arrested. Or maybe when you go to jail today, maybe they'll just help you figure it out and put you in contact with the right people, okay?
I'm really get arrested though.
Yes, you are. Okay. Hang tight for just a minute.
We should all just go home for the day. I'm emotionally damaged now. Kayla.
Yeah.
These little things that are like pokies and tools and stuff, they cannot go to the jail with you, so they're just going to get destroyed.
Why?
What's that?
Can't I just give them to my husband?
Where is he? Pretty much what I want to do is give all your stuff to your husband, but I don't know where he's at. Was he the short Hispanic guy or the taller white guy in the gray sweatshirt?
No, neither. He's in my monster sticks right there.
That one right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's his name?
Alex.
What is it, sorry?
Alex.
Alex. Can you hop out for a second? We're switching cars.
Hey, Kayla, do you want your purse to go with him?
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Apparently it's our suspect's car and her husband is passed out inside and is not waking up. He does have some drug paraphernalia in his lap. He woke up. We're good. Can I open the door and talk to you?
Are you Alex? Yeah.
Your wife got arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah. These things happen. She wanted us to give you her purse and her cash.
What's she doing in there?
She was identified by their store security as somebody who had shoplifted previously, and they wanted her trespass. There's a bullet right here on the door, just so you know. Any guns in the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyway, she's under arrest for obstruction and disorderly conduct because she was throwing stuff around the store and she got mad when we told her she had to leave and was trespassing and all that. So
Going to jail?
yeah.
Probably shouldn't be driving though. Maybe find somebody else to come drive for you.
Yeah, I don't know if you smoked or something recently, but I was trying to wake you up for.
I literally was just waiting for her forever. I took a nap.
Oh yes. Okay. Well, any questions? You can contact the Kent City Jail and they'll find out how long. Okay.
Hypothetical Kayla is a U.S. citizen. But suppose the same encounter involved a non-citizen. For a non-citizen, even this misdemeanor arrest can carry separate immigration consequences, including deportability or a bar to re-entry. The right to remain silent and to a lawyer belongs to every person in the United States, citizen or not, though this right applies differently at a border or port of entry, where separate rules govern questioning and search. Never give a false name or false documents to police. For a non-citizen, doing so can be a separate crime layered on top of immigration consequences, echoing this case's core lesson about not creating a second problem for yourself. Under the Vienna Convention, a detained foreign national has the right to consular notification, though U.S. courts have not treated this as a guaranteed courtroom remedy. This is general information, not individualized legal advice. After booking, the arresting officer consulted a sergeant, and the charges were amended from disorderly conduct and resisting to malicious mischief under RCW 9A.48.090 plus resisting. Case status beyond that point remains unknown at this time. Lesson 1. Control your emotions under pressure. Adrenaline drives the decisions that create new problems. The single strongest, most transferable lesson from this entire 17-minute encounter. Regardless of who was right, Lesson 2. Know your rights. Understand the difference between being detained and being free to go, and remember that silence and a request for counsel are protections that apply even when officers are in the wrong. Lesson 3. Never hand the other side a second, independent case against you. Resisting, giving a false name, or destroying property turns one disputed charge into two, a costly mistake. This case illustrates clearly subsequent